everyone. Welcome to Paranormal Q&A with Jack, Kenna, and
Carly Hall.
Carly Hall. There she is.
For the
and
first time
Michelle Millens. Michelle is already in. She already hopped on.
Yeah.
So I'll give people a little time because, it takes a little time to hop in. Before I want to get into I do something I want to talk about this show. We've been off for a while, a couple weeks. We had some stuff going on, things like that. So, but we're back. We are back. You may see us in and out during the summer here because we've got a lot of stuff going on, some events coming up. But we will always be around at one point or another. And hello, Steve White. How you doing this evening? It's good to see you back. So I was just saying, we may be in and out during the summer. It's just different things going on. Like my son's moving into, which is this weekend. Bob Burnell, how you doing out there? Barry Martz, how's it going? So my son's moving out to Syracuse, New York this weekend. He's going to be starting medical school. So he's got a long time to go with that, but he will be doing that. So we're going to be hoping to move out there this weekend. That doesn't affect us being on next week. But there will be stuff we have going on, and we may be away for some weeks and stuff like that, where we probably won't run the show. But we will be around. I'll be honest with everyone too, and let me just say hi to everybody out there. It's Carl. How you doing, Carl? John McGinnis, Carl Mitchell, Ruth Such. I see Ruth is out there. Bob Burnell. Good to see you. Hope you liked that the image I sent you for that stuff. I know you did. You responded back to me. I did finally. I promised Bob I was going to send him an idea for the logo for his the group he's doing there. So I finally got something done. I did send it to him, and we'll see what happens with that. Karen Ann Daniels, thank you, and he did thank me very much for that. I appreciate that. But I did finally get it done. I promised him, and then I finally got it done. So it's a good thing, finally. So. And Cheryl, I see Cheryl's out there. Emily, you got a lot of people on today. That's good. So I started to say I may be kind of changing Paranormal Q&A. Evie Dan, our good friend Evie. Oh, it's getting off track again. But Evie's going to be coming out here in August, Carly. She wants to make sure we get to see her and stuff. I won't say why she's coming out because that's her personal business and stuff. She can mention it here if she like. It's nothing bad. It's a positive thing, but I don't want to mention that to her. I'll talk to you about it later. But it's a positive thing for her family. So it's good stuff. Nothing bad. So, and Bob says he's very happy. Thanks so much. Hey, no problem, Bob. No problem. I was glad to be able to finally get it done and get that off to you. And it was just a concept idea for the logo for the new team, so I'm pleased with that. Anyways, I've been thinking about changing, kind of really dropping Paranormal Q&A and moving on to something a little bit different, something new. But we'll see what people say. If they don't want to see it go, they might enjoy the new idea more, which I want to get more into, almost like an online training, really. We kind of do that through Paranormal Q&A, and that's something I do want to talk about tonight. Linda Lou is out there, too, and I think I mentioned Emily before. So, Cheryl Brookshire. So there she is, Cheryl. So we'll see. We'll see what I'm going to do with that. And Cheryl, I can see your comments in here, so if you're posting stuff, that's fine. Because I can see what you're posting, so don't worry about that. So we'll see. We'll see what we're going to do with that. But tonight, I did want to talk about the paranormal. A view. Something to remember. I think really think about when you're doing the paranormal, and that is a lot of people get caught up with all the equipment and trying to capture stuff and. They focus on all of that, and I want to just remind people that paranormal is a spiritual realm, right, Carly? We're talking about spirits, human souls, all that stuff. And a lot of times I notice groups and investigators sometimes tend to forget that. And there's stuff you need to remember with that you've got to really keep that in mind all the time in order not only to protect yourself, but when you're dealing with clients and stuff. I bring this up because we just had a client this past weekend, right? And Carla, I'll let you talk about what was the biggest issue we came across with that client.
The confusion on the spiritual aspect of things.
Right.
And they're
So
pretty heavily into
what kind of went on with that.
So they're pretty heavily into the paranormal world themselves, like they're very much into spiritual practices and stuff, but there was a lot of confusion between I wouldn't say between religion and spirituality.
No.
Even though kind of, but more of like
really
what
faith,
spiritual,
right?
Yeah, what connection that she had to the spiritual side of the paranormal. Like what type of connection that she wanted to have, whether it be what type of faith or kind of versus what her family wants her to follow. So
yeah.
Sometimes you need to take a step back and forget about what everybody wants from you. In that moment, like, you really need to just forget about what everybody else thinks and think about what would make you happy in that situation, and then go with that.
Right. Because this was yeah. Oh, go ahead.
With those types of situations, it doesn't concern anybody else but you. So.
Right. But there was a conflict there because she considered herself to be, well, actually, when I was talking to her, she thought she was a witch. As we got talking, and it would sound like she was more into paganism, pagan side of things, more like maybe Wicca or whatever. But she was combining that with her Catholic background, not her faith, because she didn't really believe in that. But she was combining those rituals with not just praying to the gods and goddesses, but then at times she would pray to Jesus Christ and God and things like that. So you're mixing it up. And if you believe in something, you got to believe in one thing. You can use those kind of rituals and still pray to Jesus Christ and things like that, but you don't want to one time be praying to Jesus and another time be praying to one of the gods or goddesses of the Wiccan belief system, because now you're just meshing things up.
Christianity is not a what's the word, where there's multiple deities. It's one.
Correct.
So you're conflicting, and that's actually pretty dangerous too, because you could have something come in pretending to be Jesus, and they want to do that. They want to trick you like that. Right. So it could trick you into thinking that that's what that is when it's not.
Right.
So,
and hey, Chris Sanders, I'm just going to say hi to Chris real soon because he said, hey, all. So, hi, Chris. How you doing out there? Yeah, that's right. And then she had a friend of hers coming in who says she is a witch, using all kinds of different things to try to get rid of what they believed was in her home, which her friend believed is saying right away it was a demon, it's a demon, and all this stuff. And it turns out it really probably wasn't. It seemed to be, from what we got, right, just, we still got some evidence to go through, but it seemed to be whoever was there was not happy with her kind of choosing, like, the pagan rituals over her Christianity.
I think it's also a mix. This is what happens when people who go in and try to fix a situation, but they don't know what they're doing in a kind of weird way. It creates this tangled ball of yarn that where little bits are tangled in, and it creates this gigantic mess. And you gotta figure out how to pick it out. But that was a good example of just a giant mess, just based on other things coming in, and it makes it look really bad. You look at a tangled ball of yarn, it looks really bad, looks like it's unfixable, it looks like it's the worst of the worst, but it's just little things, that make it up. So thankfully Thankfully, hopefully, that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know,
But
that's where it
here's a
seems
good
so.
question regarding this, and actually it does kind of fit into what was going on at this house. Linda Lou asks, how do you think you could tell if you were praying to the real Jesus or not, or to any other spirit guide? And actually, in this particular case, the person really didn't believe in Christianity, so she's just saying the prayers because that's what she knew, without really believing in it. So technically, she may not have really, been praying to Jesus, right? I mean, anything to pick it up and say, "Oh, I'm Jesus
Well,
Christ," But
when,
because of your faith, I think that's
right.
what we're going to get at with Linda here.
That's all about intent in that
Correct.
part. Like if you're praying to Jesus, you're praying to Jesus. Like he's going to get it. Like if you're half-heartedly, just saying the prayer but not putting any meaning into it, so praying is a lot like casting a spell in a sense. It's the same kind of, when you back it up into the simple like aspects of it, it's the same thing. So when you cast a spell, you're visualizing what you want, your intent. You already believe that you've received it, and that's the casting of the spell with the tools that you use. With praying, you're visualizing like well wishes on somebody, or healing, or if you are having trouble in your life for specific reasons, you visualize those and you place it to God. You place it to Jesus. That is your intent. So if that's
Right.
what you're doing and you're visualizing it and putting your heart into it, then yes, that is what you're doing.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's a matter of your faith and your belief.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. If you truly believe in Jesus Christ, God, and all that, and you're praying to them, that's you're gonna be praying to.
But if you don't believe,
if you don't really believe it, and you're just saying the words.
They're just words.
They really don't mean anything anyway. Unlike a spell, which actually with a spell, there's different things involved with that, right? And you could do a spell, and actually something may come to that, but it's not going to be what you want.
Something else carries out that spell.
That's a whole different.
Now that's getting into the next step of things. I was talking about the simple, like basic, like what makes it up, like the startings. But that's the next step.
Well, yeah.
That's where it starts to differ.
You have to be careful with that, because you can't just go out and do a spell though and expect
Exactly.
I'm going to do a spell to God. No, God doesn't do spells.
No.
Look at it that way.
But it all starts with intent. That's what I'm getting.
Correct. It does start.
They both all start with intent and visualization and how intent works.
Right.
Now, how that's practiced and how that's applied are two different things, which I'm saying. But the basics of intent are the same.
Yep. Yeah, our good friend George is here too. How you doing out there, George? Hope everything's going okay, going good out there. Haven't heard from George in a while. Of course, we haven't been on in a couple of weeks either, so. George says he's home early today, so that's good.
Oh, good. So I just saw his Facebook post. They're going to somewhere this weekend, a prison, to investigate, I believe. I forget the name of it, but it was actually really cool. They took a picture. They're going back to investigate.
George, what was your
George, where are you going this weekend?
Where are you going? And George says this, and we really appreciate this, George. Thank you. It means a lot to us. This is number one show here. My reason for this, my reason is this: these two care about and love us for who we are. We are not just a number. No, you guys aren't. We you're our friends out there, man. We do care about you. And we care about sharing knowledge, and you guys sharing your knowledge with us. So we appreciate that, George. You get it, George. Thank you. You do get it, because we really do care. And we care about the people that we are out there helping, too. So, George, but yeah, Carly says you guys are heading someplace. Oh, Nevada State Prison, he says. So they're going to be heading out to Nevada State Prison. And they didn't invite us. How dare they? Not that we would be able to go. But
we are helping Josh.
It'd be nice to just be invited. We can, George. Can go anyway. So, just busted a little bit. Steve has a question for us. Steve always has good questions too. Linda's was a really good question. I liked that question. Um, Question: how similar is a poltergeist haunting to an intelligent haunting? Are the similarities close? Meaning, could one be mistaken for the other when doing residential cases? Well, truth is, Steve, a poltergeist haunting is an intelligent haunting. Whether it's being haunted by a teenager who's making these things happen, a haunting is just, it's something that haunts you, something that occurs. It causes, problems, and issues. It's hard to get rid of. But in order for things to be moved, that's not just residual. That's intelligent. Something is moving that. Again, whether it's a living person or whether it's a spirit or a demonic or whatever. But something intelligent is moving that. So a poltergeist case usually indicates it's an intelligent haunting. Okay, it's something to kind of remember. It's not separate. Poltergeist is a type of spirit.
Well,
Noisy spirit is what it.
Well, poltergeist is, I'd say, is more of a classification of the events that are going on. So, like with the poltergeist, you mainly see objects move. You hear noises. It's more of a physical type of haunting rather than a, I guess, spiritual aspect to the haunting.
Yes.
So it's more like physical objects are being affected rather than the body or the spirit, the mind.
Right. You typically, I've never heard of poltergeist activity with a residual haunt. Residual haunts are usually a lot of noises, maybe voices, seeing some type of figure moving back and forth, because it's something that was repetitive and captured, whether in the materials of the building or in the makeup of the land, which could be a lot of quartz in that area, or even quartz, water, combination of things that trapped that energy there. So it's not interactive. It's not going to be able to move things or interact with an individual to try to get their attention. It's just residual. It's just like a recording, as we always say. So just something to keep in mind. If you got a poltergeist case, you have some type of interactive haunting, which again can be caused by a human, a living person, who's going through some things and they're putting out a lot of energy. And Carly knows she's caused poltergeist activity, so I can tell you about that. So, but it doesn't always mean it's a ghost or a demon or anything like that. It could be the source, could be a human being.
I wish you could control it. It'd be nice.
Yeah, it'd be nice. Most people don't even know they're doing it. So, and Bob Maloney says his cell keeps blocking his text. Well, I can read what you've got. So, I mean, if you're talking about the show, Bob, we can see what you're posting here. So, maybe he's trying to send a text to somebody, and it could be because, if you're watching the show through your phone, then that could be what's blocking you from texting. Sometimes those things don't work well together. Sometimes when you're using Facebook and watching something on there, it'll block you from texting.
I think he probably means if he's trying to comment earlier.
Oh, maybe. But we can see your post now. So if I've missed somebody's question or anything, just repost it if you can. I'm going back to look as long as I'm here. Thank you, Barry. I saw your post in regards to what George said, and we appreciate that.
Facebook.
Well, we got a lot of comments. Linda says, well, here's what Barry said. Since I'm posted on, throw everybody's stuff. So very true, George. We greatly appreciate this, guys. And then Linda came up and said, all these nice comments about us. Jack and Carly have always been down to earth and are always acknowledge their followers on or their fans. We consider you our friends. You may not be very, you could say acquaintances, some of you, because some of you we'd never met, but we enjoy the fact that you like watching the show and you're getting something from it. The whole point of our show is that you guys get something from this. It's not just you guys. You guys can interact. You can ask your questions. It's not just you guys sitting back and listening to two people interview another person. I mean, you can get stuff from that, but we just tried to do something a little bit different. Let you guys ask your questions to us, and especially if you've got something that's kind of bugging you, even if it's about something that's going on that you think you have something happening, or you've been on an investigation, or you're going on an investigation and you got some questions about something before you go. So that's what we're trying to be here for. So I guess some people are having trouble commenting in the live video. I'm not sure why.
Might just be a Facebook issue.
Could be a Facebook issue tonight, folks. We are seeing a lot of your posts. So, I mean, I would just say keep trying, because I'm seeing posts on this end, even though you may not see them. So just keep trying. Because, like I said, I'm seeing them on my end, so they're showing up. So, and if it's not working for you on Facebook, remember we are also live on YouTube right now. Our channel is just Paranormal Q&A with Jack, Kenna, and Carly Hall. You can go onto YouTube and get us there and post, and they'll show up here too. Or my other Facebook page, just the Jack Kenna page, which is different than my personal page. So I think it's jack.kenna.paranormal on Facebook. So I have that page there too. That's my public page. So we also broadcast there too if things are giving you a hard time. George says this. This is kind of true. I will always be a student in every subject. Question, why is it that paranormal investigator can go to a location and get absolutely no evidence, but good feelings in location, but someone else goes in days later and they feel evil? Is it what we bring to the location? Go ahead with that one, Carly. I'll let you take that. What is your opinion on that?
Yeah, so I think a lot of it has to do with what we bring to a location. We actually have experience with this. So we went to a location where there was a lot of like iffy rumors about the history of the location with no facts to back it up. And it had to do with a lot of people trying to make the location more interesting as well as their experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But what was actually going on was they were coming in with the questions to try to be an antagonist, to like get a reaction from the spirit, and it was like a negative reaction, of course.
Right.
Which we were like, I don't know, I don't think that's what's going on there. So we went in and we were respectful, and we asked the respectful questions. And what we got was the truth, the facts, the actual history in a respectful manner that was completely opposite to what people had been getting previously. So I think it's a lot of what we put in as investigators to a location. You know, we really need to be mindful of it. Those are human beings.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they lived there at one time, and they still are human beings, and they still are there. And you need to be respectful of that.
Right.
You know, they're not just objects of entertainment for people. And I've seen people describe ghost hunts as, I want to be entertained. That is, Can you imagine living in a house and someone walks in and goes, entertain me?
Yeah.
Like, no. But then they can't hear you because they can't see you or hear you, and you're just antagonizing more and more and poking the bear with a stick. What am I gonna do?
Yeah.
Get the hell out.
That's right.
You're you know. So
you're not gonna interact with them either. So
yeah. And so
but that's how people think. They don't think of spirits as a person or a soul. It's it's a ghost. I want to entertain me. Why isn't anything happening?
And a lot of what people don't understand is, as paranormal investigators, you have a responsibility to be the voice of those spirits.
Yeah.
You're not just there to get evidence and post it online. You're there to make a connection and communicate and find their story and figure out what's going on. Put the puzzle pieces together in a respectful manner that other people can see and follow.
Right.
You know, it's not all about entertainment and ooh, it's scary. Like it's a responsibility. Like
Well,
as
those people are
growing
going
up
on.
as a psychic, growing up as a psychic, that was what was taught was your responsibility is to be a spirit's advocate because they can't talk or you know do things as they would with a human body. They're incapable of that. So if they want to interact with us, you know, who do have a body and can interact, we have to advocate for them.
Right. Right.
So, and that's my number one pet peeve. If you can't tell, that's when people
But
do that.
some of those type of people we're usually talking about, they're not really investigators anyway. They're out there to just have a good time and be entertained, and they may say, "Oh yeah, we have a paranormal thing. I'm an investigator," but they're really not. They have no clue what really is involved. And those are the ones who usually end up with problems too. So, and then call us to help them solve it. Like, can you help me? It's a guy got an attachment. And I know somebody's asked about an attachment earlier.
It's like the golden rule: treat people the way you want to be treated.
Right. Oh, matter of fact, this is one from Steve White. What are some characteristics of a spirit attachment to a person or persons versus an object? Well, okay. Well, an object, I mean, it's not going to interact. If it's attached to an object, it's not really bothering the object. As a spirit attachment to a person, it's attached to them for a reason, right, Carly? I mean,
yeah.
Whether they asked for it or whether they did something that, negatively that may have caused it, or whether that spirit felt some kind of connection to that person or thought they were somebody that they knew in life and became attached to them that way. There's a lot of different reasons a person could pick up an attachment.
An object is more like a personal attachment that the spirit has to that object.
Correct. Yeah, very good. Yep.
It's more of like a functional type thing for themselves.
Right.
If you're attaching to a person, that's a whole nother, like either they're trying to get energy from that person and they're able to, through, that person's past history, or they think they recognize them or they're related to them or whatever. And there's different.
I'm going to haunt my Star Trek collection.
I'm going to haunt little girl. 100%.
Attached to
you better bury that horse with me.
Yeah,
just saying.
Yeah, that's who you're thinking. My Star Trek collection.
Or that thing's going to start moving on its own. You're going to find it near the fridge.
I won't be around for that. But I do say they
Hopefully not.
I do say they should bury that with you when you go. Your stuffed horse there that you've had since you were like 3 years old or something.
Not the narwhal, the horse.
Do the narwhal too, just to be on the safe side. We'll just line your casket with stuffed animals. I won't. I'll be long gone anyway. So.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Just people. If anybody's around when Carly finds, line her casket with all her stuffed animals to make sure her attachments go with her. So you don't want to. Although somebody might want you to be around. You're such a friendly and nice person. They probably I want Carly to hang around my house.
And after I'm gone, I'm going to heaven, man. I'm done. I'm gonna be like, I did my part. It's been an adventure. I'm done. Goodbye. I'm sorry. Oh man, I'm only 24 and I'm already I feel like I've lived a lifetime, and it's been a lot.
I hear you. Lorianne's got a kind of a good question. I don't think we can really answer it 100% for her. Her husband lost his mother 10 years ago, his father 24 years ago. We live in their house. The spirit walks around my husband's bed every night and lays down beside him. It looks like a man, possibly his dad. Possibly. I mean, I can't give you a 100% answer on that, but if it's in your family's home, interesting thing would be, did he ever experience anything growing up in that home? Because it could be another family member, is my point. I've got my mother and my mother's mother, my grandmother, that want my home. So Um, and my grandmother had been haunting it, not really haunting, but she hung out here and she would interact with me a lot, and my sister Michelle, I think, a lot. But because that's visitation, that's not really haunting. So when you're talking about family members, I usually consider that visitation. They may come and go. Um, it could be his dad. Just because it looks like a man doesn't necessarily mean it is either. It could be his mother.
Could be what you feel off of it, like what he feels.
Yeah, that'd be
ask
the question.
him.
Does he? There you go, Lord. Does he notice it? What does he or who does he think it is? I always tell people kind of go with your feeling on that, and does he even notice it? Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe you're just the only one that notices it. I don't know, but uh, it doesn't sound like you're overly concerned about it. But also keep an eye on things too, and just keep a kind of a notebook about what you experienced, when it happened, what you saw, what you heard, and try to figure. I mean, you can also try to figure it out from there. I wouldn't try to investigate your home. I wouldn't do any EVP work or anything like that, but I would just kind of keep track of events that happen. Just keep a little notebook and just keep track of events. Sometimes just doing that can help you figure out maybe who or what is there. Certain smells that may come around may smell like his father's cologne or his mother's perfume or things like that. And sometimes you can figure it out just by keeping a logbook. So I would give that a try. I can't tell you, neither of us can tell you 100% who that is, but since it's their home, you're living there now, very likely probably is a family member of, some type. So I'll leave it with that. It says they caught a black shadow man on video. All right. Hopefully that's just on your security cams. Again, I always tell people don't investigate your own home. It's not a good idea. You can actually bring something in that you don't want by doing that. Because when you're talking with spirit, you're opening up a spirit session. So anything from any place can come into your home and pretend to be something that's not. So be careful with that. But I mean, if you caught it on your security camera, that's fine. You just happen to catch it and saw it. That's interesting. That is interesting. If it does seem to be a man, maybe it is his father. Very could be. Going down the list. Oh, here's a good question. Carly, you may know this better than me. What is transference? Why does this happen?
I've actually never heard of that.
Transference? Let me just make sure I look this up before I say for sure, because I haven't talked about it in a long time.
Is it like a transfer of energy?
It can be...
or a transfer of attachments?
It can be a transference of... Yeah, kind of like energy, or even a spirit can transfer to someone. I just want to make sure. Bear with me a second, people. And a port is the alleged transference of article from one. Oh, okay. Yeah. It does have to do with energy. It's transference. When you're talking about it, it can be an item transferring from one location to another. All right. Like people say, I left my keys here and I found them over there.
Oh, yeah, teenagers do that.
All right. It can also be other things too, because transference is also a psychological term.
I used to do that all the time.
Yeah. So
it was so annoying. Yes. Okay, transference. Okay, that. Yeah.
So she says, why does this happen? What is transference and why does it happen? So here's the actual definition of transference. It goes back to parapsychology. Parapsychology and spiritualism in a port is an APPORT is the alleged paranormal transference of an article from one place to another, or an appearance of an article from an unknown source that is often associated with poltergeist activity or seances. So something can just suddenly appear, from out of nowhere.
We had that happen at the
Right, so that's the actual definition, and it can happen because of a spirit, or like they said during a seance, people are can manifest things during seances. Sometimes an individual can do it, like we talked about, like with the teenager. All that high energy and
do it all the time when I was sleeping.
Right, and they can make things move, and it happens because of energy. Really, the release of energy is making these things occur. In some cases, though, like with things like that, things just appearing, that can also occur in demonic cases. Some very strange
that happened at the exorcism
with the marble, right? Yeah, yeah, just appeared out of nowhere and went rolling across the floor. So,
yep, right behind me. That was.
Yeah.
I was almost behind it.
Yeah,
that happened right behind me.
It was a very interesting occurrence. So that's that. It's things like that are transference. So there's a lot of reasons why it can occur, but it does have to do with like a release of energy, something being materialized out of nothing sometimes, or just being moved from one location to another. But it happens because there's a lot of energy going on in that particular haunting, and from whatever source. Okay, so let's just leave it at that. But you got to be careful with that. You got to make sure what you're experiencing is really some type of poltergeist activity, or could it be in somebody's imagination, or there's a lot of things you got to look into before you can say it's definitely 100% paranormal activity or a transference of an item. You just got to check. You got to do the job, right? You always got to investigate. But that's what transference is, and I'm just going to post that.
If you have a teenager that you think might be happening, a good way to debunk it is actually with crystals. So if you sleep with tourmaline under your pillow or with a quartz, it's an absorber of energy and a grounder. If it stops, then that's what it was. But if not, it's still a positive thing to have to do. So I help with bad dreams and stuff anyway. So.
And in regards to your other response earlier, George says, "Thank you, Carly. Carly Hall, thank you. I agree with you. Big letters, thank you." He's talking about what you were.
Oh yeah, with the
being passionate about before.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
It makes me so frustrated because I know spirits don't have a voice, and people abuse that, and it's like, come on, really?
Yeah. And here's a good point by Barry March. He always has good thoughts and good ideas and things too. He goes, "I think the spirits that were once living like us may not want to communicate with us." That's very true. For instance, you can visit Rolling Hills Asylum one evening and not catch a drop of paranormal activity, and the next day there could be a big party of spirits that want to communicate. It's true. It's just like people. Sometimes you're not feeling that great. Sometimes you don't want to be bothered, and you just won't interact. And other days, you want that interaction. He goes on to say, "I've had this happen to me a few times, especially at Rolling Hills Asylum. You can't get discouraged. Just enjoy the moment," and that's 100% true.
Mm-hmm. And it could also have to do with the holiday too. What we learned recently. Activity tends to decrease during the holidays.
Sometimes during holidays it decreases. Some holidays it increases. I'm gonna. If I want to read this out of my book or not. Here's what. Yeah, I am going to read this. This is from my book, and it's the paranormal research book. But I want to read this. This is on page 12. It's out of the chapter Communicating with Spirits. This is what I write. Do not assume there is a spirit in the location you are investigating. This may seem odd or even crazy to some of you. Example, then what the heck am I about to try to communicate with? The point here is do not get your expectations up that you're going to get a response or have a two-way conversation. It just does not happen that way. And you're going to get bored very quickly and give up way too soon if you have high expectations to talk with a ghost. And that's true. If you're expecting it, if you're hoping for it and expecting it, and it doesn't happen right away, or it may not happen at all, you're really going to get discouraged. And instead of spending maybe an hour in a spot, you're only going to want to spend like 5, 10, 15 minutes there and take off. Well, that's not even long enough to get a communication going. So don't expect communication. Hope for communication, but don't expect it. And then if you do get it, it's much more exciting, right? Because I never go in expecting anything to be haunted. I just don't. I assume it's not. And then we go from there, you know. And I never get discouraged either if it seems like I didn't get anything, because I very well could go back home, go through the audio and the video and find something was communicating with me or with us, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we've had
that's
that
typically
happen
the
too.
case if we don't hear anything.
Right, we've had that happen too, where it seems like nothing's going on, and then you get home and you get all these EVPs. So you got to go through your evidence after you have to. Otherwise, why are you recording it? I know too many people too that go on investigations. They bring all this equipment and stuff, and they never review any of it. Never. So, what was the point? You know, what was the point? Go through your evidence when you're done. You may be surprised to hear you captured something. If you want to find out more quickly, try doing
Burst sessions.
Yeah, little burst sessions. Or I think Bob Burnell here does. He listens to the audio while he's investigating. So he uses a set of headphones and he's listening to the audio that's being recorded while he's investigating, and sometimes he'll catch EVPs that way. That's another good way to do it. But yeah, you can do burst sessions. You do like a few minute session, play it back, and listen to see if you got a response. You can do it right there while investigating. That's another good way to do that. A lot of people don't think about that all the time either. So we went through that with Barry's stuff. Okay. And this is a good point too. George, our good friend George, says it's all about going into locations with you knowing you are the guest. That's very true because you're in their home. So be on your best behavior. Yes, and I talk about that in the book too, of how to communicate with spirits, even to body language, because they may be able to see us. So when you are trying to investigate and you're trying to communicate with a spirit, you want to take a positive body language when you're doing that too. You don't want to be sitting here like this and go, well, what's your name? What's this? What's that? Can you tell us? You're all bunched up, okay? You're like, I don't really want to talk to you, right? It gives off that, how do I want to say it? It gives off that attitude.
Closed off, yeah.
I really don't want to be bothered to talk to you. Don't talk to me. I'm just throwing questions out there. Be more like, if you're sitting down or even if you're up, have your hands open. Like, hey, I'd really like to talk to you. And tell them your name first. Introduce yourself. Don't just start asking questions, right? Introduce yourself and be friendly about it. And you will find if there is something there, you will get much better reaction, much more interaction that way. It still may take a little while for them to get to know you and be willing to talk to you. And sometimes it takes a little while to get up the energy to be able to do that too. So remember that. So that's just a little bit about what I go over in that book too. Here's one from Steve. Before starting a residential investigation, is it a good idea to baseline readings of the home before starting the investigation, just so you have something to reference during the investigation? And I assume you're talking about EMF, baselining your EMF, or even other things like the temperature, anything, humidity, things like that. Carly, go ahead. Is it important to do that? It's important to baseline your readings when you're doing a residential investigation.
100%. Because what are you going to know is actual activity or, an interference from your environment.
Right. It's even important when you're just investigating a known location, like one of these other, like Rolling Hills. You do want to take some readings in places when you're doing that, so you know what could be affecting your devices. Right? It's true of anything, not even just residential. It is very important in residential, though. Matter of fact, we just did that last weekend. We checked the house out for EMF and all that based on what they were experiencing.
So you don't know what the wiring's like in a house,
Right. Could be very poor wiring. We did find right underneath the one room where they're having activity. It wasn't totally the answer to the problem, but
it was an energy source.
That one light, yeah, the fluorescent light was giving off huge. It pegged out the couple of the devices, the K2 and the millimeter that I had. It was really high EMF readings. So, and that was going right up through the floor underneath where the kids' room was. So luckily that light's not on all the time, so that really wasn't the total answer to what was going on. But it was probably could have been impacting the family and the kids at some point if somebody did leave that light on. So it's good to check all that. And it's getting from Linda. This is getting more into the TV aspect of things. There are some shows I won't even watch any longer due to the fact that all they do is act nasty. I realize it's for entertainment purposes, but I don't like it. And I totally agree. And yes, there is a lot of shows that do that. Not all the time, but sometimes they do it. And again, it's just for ratings and get activity, and it's very disrespectful. There's no doubt about that. I gotta laugh at this one. This is from George. Because you wear a black shirt doesn't make you a paranormal investigator. Very true. Could mean you're goth.
It's an aesthetic.
It's your kindness that God. It's your kindness that God gave you, and a soft heart to care, love for people, even spirits. Yep, we will all be spirits one day, that's for sure. And I will choose to chat the good people, good people, than dark, ugly, mean people. Just a heads up. Yeah, I agree with that, George, and I'm sure Carly does 100%. Yeah, just because you got a black shirt and it's some white lettering on it about a team doesn't mean you're really an investigator. You got to earn that. It takes a lot of years and a lot of time and a lot of commitment. Yeah, it really does. Yeah. Be a good investigator. Yeah. Now, if you just want to go out and investigate to have some fun at places, fine, all well and good, but don't really call yourself a paranormal investigator.
I had 10 years of training, for God's sakes.
Yeah, seriously.
Before I started investigating. Pretty much.
And Bob's talking about he just got a laptop so you can take on investigations, use Audacity to listen to EVPs at the moment. It's a good idea too. Sometimes I'll do that. Usually I just take the stuff home because I'm not going to take up too much time in somebody's house. So I do take it home. I do like to give them their house back. But for other places and stuff that you investigate, like USS Salem, which is coming up November 7th, It's a good idea to bring it there. Yeah, you can do that. There's times I'll just listen back to the audio off the recorders too, with a pair of headphones and do that, or through a speaker so everybody can hear it, and we see what we got. And talking about that, USS Salem, we only have 2 tickets left now, people. 2 tickets left. We did cut the number down to 20 people, but we only have 2 tickets left for November 7th, USS Salem in Quincy, Mass. If anybody would like to go, that's what we're down to. 2, just the last 2. So I throw it out there. I know many of you guys are already signed up. You're already going, and we're going to be looking forward to seeing you there. So, and if you're looking for tickets, you can find them at spiritsofnewengland.org under our events page. I can post that later on. But we do only have 2 tickets left. And this is good too. This is a good one from William. Always remember to simplify your EVP sessions into a dialogue instead of a Q&A. Very good. I like to ask them, the spirit, what's important to them, what they would like to talk about, and then just wait a few minutes to see if there's any response. And Carly, what's another good way to get interaction?
The water cooler method.
Mm-hmm. Explain that.
So, like, if you and I were investigating a location, we weren't getting any activity, and you and I would start talking about maybe the history or something that's close to what the spirits of that location could relate to, as a dialogue between you and I, and see if they join in. So instead of directing the talking to the spirits, it's between us, so that they can come in conversation when they want to.
Yep, that's true. Sometimes you get better reactions that way, just sitting around talking about investigations or about the location, and all of a sudden you'll start seeing interaction on your devices because they want to join into that conversation. So they don't necessarily want to be the focus of the discussion, but they want to join in on the discussion. Works very well quite often. And let's throw this. Linda says, had a voice call out her name also. It happens several times, different places, and places that really aren't supposed to be haunted. There's my grandmother. Yeah, you very well could have somebody in your family that hangs around you, which also potentially could explain what's going on in the house too. Maybe it's got nothing to do with your husband. Maybe it's got something to do with you and your family member. Even though it's your husband's family home, it's because that's the case doesn't mean it's his family member. Could be yours. Carl talks about that too. Hey, Keith Bailey. Hello, Keith Bailey. I see you're out there. I just saw you. I just saw you, Keith. Sorry if I didn't notice you earlier. And yeah, I hear what you're saying. He's talking about something I said earlier. He goes, or a rock drummer, which Keith is. Keith is a rock drummer, as well as many other things. Retired from the fire service, and he's a paranormal investigator as well, and we're doing all kinds of stuff, and he's a good guy. People talk about, you get more flies with honey than vinegar. That's very true, which just means how you talk to spirit, how you react with them. Very glad you can't wait for the event. We're really looking forward to seeing all you guys there and ladies there, and can't wait to have you all out. Barry talks about, I have an EVP captured from many years ago where I was interrupted by a spirit while I was talking. It's hard to hear, but it's there. I'd like to hear that sometimes. Bob says, I actually got that once too. I was told, F you, at the Conjuring House. Not surprised necessarily there. Again, that spirit may be just tired of so many people coming to investigate or getting the same questions asked all the time. That's something that can happen too. Not everything is always evil, but it can seem that way if spirit. You go to a location where it's been investigated a lot, and a spirit can get fed up and just tell you things like that, "F you," or "get out," or they won't interact with you at all because they're just tired. They're tired of it. They really don't want people bothering them. So that's something to always remember too. I'm trying to scroll down. I'm having a little trouble. And you're right. So I'm gonna, Barry, I'll answer your questions, but I'm gonna throw this up here. Just a reminder. You already talked about that one. Hang on. Nah, just scroll that. Never mind. If you're looking for any of my books, you can find them on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com. I know a lot of people already have my paranormal research book. We will be doing classes again this year here in New York at SUNY Schenectady and Hudson Valley Community College. They both picked me up for this year. And we'll also be doing the Haunt You Forever event at the end of this month in Tennessee. If anybody wants to go to that, there might still be tickets left for that. Let's see what else we got. Barry's question. Let me get back to Barry's question now. Let me see. 2 camera questions out there. What is the difference between an IR camera and a full spectrum camera? Is there such a let's address that first. IR is infrared. It only sees in the infrared spectrum of light, which is one of the far ends of the light spectrum. A full spectrum camera sees, depending on which, and you need the light to go with it, whether it's an IR light or a oh my god, what the heck's the other one? Infrared. What's the other one?
UV.
Yeah, ultraviolet. Yes, thank you. So that camera can see in all spectrums of light. Okay, so but it's going to depend on whether you're using an IR light or a UV light, which of those 2 far end spectrums it's going to be able to see it. So when you get a full spectrum camera, you should get 1 IR light and 1 UV camera light so that you can see in both far ends of the spectrum. But it sees in all spectrums. But the light helps with the IR or the UV spectrum. And then the next question: is there such a thing as a UV camera that could be used for? Well, that's what the full spectrum is. That's what we just kind of covered. That they used to make just a UV camera, and you still can get one that's kind of just sees in the UV range, but you really want that full spectrum if you can get it. That will give you, along with the UV light, will be able to let you see and record in the UV spectrum of light. So there's your answers, Barry. I hope I got that sorted for you. Oh, Keith is just talking about, Carly, I still laugh about the Hinsdale house and the running toupee hairpiece.
That's why I laughed earlier. So
Keith's talking about you have to have your camera converted to full spectrum. You can actually buy them now outright. You can actually buy full spectrum cameras, even through Amazon. I bought some. I like the IR. I stick with the IR. But you can buy full spectrum from Amazon, or there is places that like the Ghost Stop and places like that online that sell the converted UV cameras or full spectrum cameras. Bob Burnell just posted a link to spencerscamera.com. So there you go. You can pick them up there too. That's where he got his camera done. But yep, you can now also just buy them in that setting already, which they have been converted. That's all that means. It's been converted already. So Barry, if you're looking for one, there's some answers of where you can get them. See if I can post one of the places. I can find it here. Here's one place here. Post this. I bought some stuff from this particular guy before too. So it's ghoststop.com, and you can find the cameras and everything else there. All kinds of
They
stuff.
have good keychains too.
And keychains, yes, they got some good. They got the
Glow in the dark ghost ones.
Yeah,
I have it.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they got some good lighting stuff there. The Phasma light. They've got spirit boxes there. They've got all kinds of stuff. Boo Buddy. They got the Boo Buddy, which is the bear, the teddy bear. So, yeah, you can get all kinds of stuff. But if you do have anything, if you are looking for anything and you're not sure where to get it from, Keith knows places you can get them from. Bob knows places. Or you can reach out to me. I know a lot of places where you can pick them up from. And, again, you can even get them on Amazon and stuff. You just got to look for the right thing. We're out of time, people. Thanks, everybody, for coming out tonight. We appreciate you all. We care about you all. And we thank you for all those kind words tonight. And we will see you guys, some of you, a lot of you, on the 7th at the USS Salem. Again, only 2 tickets left for that. I'll be posting that. Just down to the last 2 tickets if somebody else still wants to go. Great talking to everybody again tonight. Yeah, you too, Karen. Same. Great talking. Thanks, everybody. We will see you again next week. You guys have a great night. And thank you all again for watching, tuning in. And again, thank you for all those kind words. Love you all. Have a good night. Good night.